I told my sister she'd be a terrible mother, and it made her so angry.
I think that would make anyone angry.
I, 17 male, have 2 sisters, Alice, 29, and Miranda, 33. I am much closer to Alice than I am to Miranda. Miranda is also not on good terms with our parents. Alice has 4 kids and is currently expecting child number 5, while Miranda can't have children, which her ex divorced her for. I'm sensing a very heavily loaded front end of this story, which, by the way, comes from user throwaway GG453268. And if you want to submit your own stories, go to the r/OK Storytime subreddit. I'm Dakota.
I'm Carly.
And we're here to give you good advice goofily, but we don't have all the answers. We only know what we would do, so tell us all the things that you would do down in the comments, as OP says. Miranda is very successful in life. She has a nice apartment, works a good job, and earns a decent amount of money. Alice, on the other hand, is struggling financially. Yeah, because she's got 5 kids. She had her first kid right out of high school and got pregnant with her second child soon after. So she decided to become a stay-at-home mom to her children while her boyfriend provides for them. Me and my parents try to help them out as much as possible, be it child care or money, whatever she needs. I love my nieces and nephews. I take them to the park and play with the older ones. I really enjoy it. Miranda doesn't help out with them, saying she's too busy. Well, she works long hours, but she doesn't have kids, so I don't know what she does on weekends. She also doesn't help out financially, which I find unfair, since she makes so much money and all she does is spend it on herself. Although she does give us very nice gifts for Christmas and birthdays. My parents nag her about it, saying she should give some of her money to Alice monthly, and I agree with that. So here comes the part where I may have been an a-hole. I was at Miranda's place last week as she baked muffins and invited me over to eat some and catch up. We got on the topic of Christmas presents, and I told her some of the stuff I wanted. She nodded and said she would give our parents a coupon for a much-needed vacation and Alice some clothes she had mentioned, as well as some new boots and jackets for her kids. I was a little stunned she didn't have more for Alice, so I asked, why do you only get Alice the bare minimum? You can afford to help out more, and you refuse to out of spite. Miranda looked at me and laughed. She said it wasn't her business to feed 6 people, and that Alice was old enough to make her choices and live with the consequences. She knew what she was getting herself into, and that she wouldn't pay Alice's way through life just because she kept having children she couldn't afford. I was stunned at how cold she reacted. I asked her how she could live her life being so selfish and uncaring. She got angry and told me, listen, kid, there are some things you are way too young for to be discussing with me, and this is one of those. Drop the subject or get out. I got really frustrated with her and said something I probably shouldn't have. I told her, no wonder your husband divorced you. Even if you could have children, you would be a terrible mother. Miranda got very quiet and told me to leave and never come back. She has now blocked me on everything, and though I don't agree with her not helping out, I'm starting to feel guilty for what I said. So am I the a-hole? Comment 1 says, you are the a-hole. You went way too far with that comment. Shame on you. And Miranda is completely right. It's her money that she earned. She has absolutely no obligation to give her money away if she doesn't want to. You and your family expecting Miranda to give her money to her sister that can't afford her lifestyle is greedy. Yes, your sister, Alice, kept having kids. It was her choice to keep having them. No one owes your sister anything because of the choices she made, especially her sister. Comment 2 says, you're the a-hole. Your parents are also a-holes. Your sister, Alice, is also an a-hole. Just because Miranda can afford to take care of Alice's children doesn't mean it's her responsibility. Who are you to need to understand what Miranda does on the weekends or what she spends her earnings on? It's not fair. Miranda is right. Alice is old enough to understand how to use wiener wrappers. If she's struggling with money at the 3rd kid, then struggling more at the 4th, why on God's green earth did she get pregnant with a 5th? There's the selfish sibling for you, and it's not Miranda, wakey wakey. Alice is the one who seems to expect the rest of the world has to provide for the kids she keeps irresponsibly having.
Okay, I don't think Alice has come out and said that at all.
At all. 0%. This is, we're filling in gaps.
Why are we putting this in her mouth?
Yeah, I mean, I will say when you're financially struggling to take care of 3 kids and then you decide to have a 4th and a 5th, that is irresponsible and should not be encouraged.
Right. There's also the possibility that there's other circumstances that led to that happening. Maybe she, I don't know, has certain beliefs that don't let her get rid of fetuses.
Yeah, who knows? But
Not our place to judge.
it's not like she's a monster.
Right.
Because she's
just got children,
You know how many
guys.
people have kids they can't afford? A lot. By the way, you are not just cruel for what you said. You are also entitled and childish. You made an active decision to help Alice and her kids. Either you do so selflessly or you choose to stop. But you don't cry about, that's not fair, when someone else makes a different choice than you with their own time and money. And there is an update. It's been a while. I know I haven't answered any comments because I was too ashamed, and I still am. When my parents and sister found out what I said to Miranda, they were absolutely furious. Alice shouted at me so long my ears were ringing. She looked like she was about to rip my head off. My sisters had a whole life before I came along, and I was too immature to understand the dynamics between them. When I look at my post, I am disgusted by my tone and what I assumed was the truth. Not only was I an absolute a-hole, but I was also terribly wrong about a lot of things. Alice never asked for money or childcare. My parents did that willingly, and as I was raised alongside them, they felt more like siblings to me, so I didn't mind. My family also never painted Miranda as the big villain. That was all just me. Because she was already grown and out of the house most of the time when I was little, I just didn't have a deeper connection with her. Maybe I was resentful that she was never there. I can't tell. My parents also didn't really pester Miranda that she should give money to Alice. They only asked her to chip in for bigger presents, which she always did. I was blinded by my love and concern for Alice that I vilified Miranda. I apologized 100 times to Miranda. I wrote her letters, tried calling, I went to her apartment, but she wouldn't see me or answer my letters, and she is in her right to do so. I hurt her deeply, and she doesn't owe me forgiveness. But the reason I made this update in the first place is some hopefully good news for you. Miranda has since moved away with her ex. I don't have the whole picture, but they are still very much in love. And by the way, you can still very much listen to full episodes with stories just like this on your favorite podcast platforms. iHeartRadio, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, wherever you listen. All you have to do is search OK Storytime.
Miranda moved away with the ex that divorced her for not having a child?
Sounds about right.
Okay.
And, maybe there's some happiness to be gained there.
I hope so, because she sounds lovely.
Yeah.
Is she baking muffins?
She made you muffins, man. That's crazy. You were an entitled, selfish little 17-year-old. You think you can walk into someone's house who just made you muffins.
She made you muffins.
And is talking about what she's going to get you for Christmas. And you can go, it's no wonder your husband divorced you. Whoa! Just even that alone is crazy. And then bringing in
Wild.
And by the way, if you had a kid, which you can't have, you'd be a bad mom.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if you're not hearing from Miranda for ever.
Yeah, I would say at least 10 years.
That's how long you'd need.
That's 10 years worth of I don't even want to think about you, man.
Because also, you say it's been a while. I don't think, based on everything, it's been that, years.
Yeah, how much of a while are we talking about?
Right. I am sure I would personally still think you needed a lot of time to grow and a lot of life experience and therapy.
Check in with Miranda when you're 27. You might be able to crack the door open then. But we have a little bit more story. When her ex-husband's family found out Miranda was infertile, they pestered them to no end, and their marriage didn't withstand that. It was really horrible, which I never knew. My parents said Miranda didn't want me to know the truth, but now that they're in another country, I hope they can be happy again. Also, please don't hate on Alice. She's a wonderful person and a very good mother to all of her kids. Alice's third pregnancy were twins, which they didn't expect, and baby number 5 has been born in the meantime. Her boyfriend also got a promotion at work, and they can now live more comfortably. I know I'm in the wrong and that I have a lot of growing to do. I deserve everything you said in the comments. Maybe one day I can have a relationship with Miranda again, but on her terms. If you want to know anything else, let me know. I promise to answer as many comments as I can. And that is the end of that story.
My mother pushed to see my brother's newborn after being around sick people.
I'm going to push you Out the door.
So I, 20 female, am about to be an aunt soon. My brother and sister-in-law are expecting to have the baby in the next few days. I got sick and I'm just getting over it. I'm still coughing a bit, but I feel better than I did 2 days ago. However, my dad has started to feel sick too. By the way, this comes from Necessary Control 4386. And if you want to submit your own stories, go to the r/OKStorytime subreddit. I'm Carly.
I'm Dakota.
And we're here to give good advice goofily, but we don't have all the answers. We only know what we would do. So let us know what you would do in the comments. OP says, my mom lives with us, but she hasn't had any symptoms yet. I was talking to her today about my sister-in-law and the baby, and she told me that they're inducing her into labor tomorrow, and the baby will likely be here by Friday. I mentioned how it sucks that we won't be able to see the baby since my dad and I are sick. She told me that if she doesn't feel sick, she's still gonna go see the baby. I found this very hypocritical because all week she's been lecturing me about going out while sick. I didn't go to work Monday, but I decided to stop by my evening ceramics class to pick up a few things. I wasn't going to stay there, I just needed a few of my pieces. She decided to lecture me on this, even though I told her I wouldn't be there for long. Despite lecturing me about this before I left, she asked me to get her a sweet treat. Whatever. This is just one example. She's also got on to me for going to class when I had to do a test that day. I forgot I was sick and ate some of it on the drive home. It completely slipped my mind, but my mom just gave me half the dessert and I gave her a different spoon. However, this dessert was strawberry and cream, so it wasn't like she could cut off part of the dessert and be fine. Whatever. Today I feel much better. Still coughing a bit with some congestion, but my eye is no longer red or bothering me. I came home and my mom and I started talking about the baby. That's when she told me she essentially doesn't care if my dad and I are sick as long as she doesn't experience symptoms. She will still go to see the baby. I am appalled by her hypocrisy considering this entire week she's been getting on to me for being sick and irresponsible. Personally, I think going to see a newborn baby, knowing that your daughter and husband are sick, is even more irresponsible and just selfish. I told her this, and she got irritated and started telling me to get out. I don't think my sister-in-law or my brother know that I am sick or that my dad is starting to feel sick. During the conversation with my mom, when I brought up that my dad and I are sick and that I ate some of her dessert a few days ago, she made a shh sound, insinuating that she doesn't want anyone to know. I don't want to stress out my sister-in-law or my brother, but I also don't want her to potentially endanger the well-being of their newborn baby. I was maybe thinking of casually bringing it up to my brother, just letting him know my dad and I are sick and that we likely won't be there, instead of outright telling him not to let my mom see the baby. I'm also wondering if I should say something now or wait until the baby's here. Now, would I be the a-hole if I told my brother that he should be concerned about my mom seeing the baby? We have some comments.
I think the funniest thing you could do here would be to just try to get your mom sick on purpose. So then there's no doubt about whether or not she's sick.
That's rough.
Yeah.
Commenter 1. You would not be the a-hole if you frame it as a concern, not telling him what their family should do. A simple, hey bro, dad and I are sick and getting over whatever we have. Mom seems fine for now. Just wanted to let you know and let you and sister-in-law decide what you want to do about visiting the baby. I won't go until I'm better. Some people genuinely don't care. Most people would appreciate knowing this. Comment 2, not the a-hole. If you tell your brother and they still decide to let your mom visit, that's their decision. But hiding it from them and essentially lying by omission is messed up. They deserve to decide whether visits are allowed with all the information in hand. Your mom knows it's wrong too because she told you not to say anything. Anyway, potentially endangering a newborn's life is not worth it just to avoid hurting your mom's feelings. She can wait to meet the baby. We have an edit, but it's also kind of an update. So,
Ooh.
What are your thoughts
Ooh.
before we get there?
Yeah, I agree with all the comments being like, just let them know, hey, me and dad, sick. Mom, not sick. Me, not seeing baby. You are able to make any decision you want now. Bye.
Bye. I agree. Edit. I just let my brother know that my dad and I are sick and that mom has been around us. I didn't say anything about not letting her see the baby, only that she's been around us. He just said okay, which is very classic of him. Anything they decide to do now is in their hands, at least I let them know. Update, the baby was born on the 5th. My parents, plural, went to see the baby a few
Whoa.
hours after the birth. And my brother and sister-in-law invited them to see the baby. They held the baby! My mom at this point still hasn't experienced any symptoms, and my dad told me he felt fine, and that earlier that week he probably felt sick because of allergies. However, today he came home from work saying he's starting to feel sick again. By the 5th, my symptoms had lessened tremendously, and I barely felt sick. I still am not 100% though, especially because I still feel terrible when I wake up in the morning, which is how I know I'm not fully healed yet. By the way, when you wake up in the morning, you can listen to full episodes of stories just like this. Go to Spotify, Apple Podcasts, iHeartRadio, wherever you get your podcasts, search up OK Storytime.
I woke up in the morning.
And I listened to OK Storytime.
Listening to OK Storytime in the morning.
There's just
I can't believe these sickies held that baby. What was your brother and sister-in-law thinking?
I really hope that your brother told his wife.
I would hope so.
I would hope.
One can hope.
Otherwise, y'all crazy. I don't know. I hope the baby's okay. I hope the baby's okay.
The baby. And did someone think about the baby?
I don't know how to feel about all this. Am I being overdramatic? I told my brother, but he still decided to have my parents come and see and hold the baby. So now I just feel crazy. I'm still going to wait to see the baby until I'm fully healed and 100% not sick anymore. I still feel my parents shouldn't have gone to see the baby, but now I just feel super overdramatic for making such a big deal about it when, in the end, they still ended up seeing the baby. Now I feel crazy, like it wasn't a big deal in the first place, especially since they were invited. And only they were invited. Maybe my sister-in-law's parents were invited too, but I'm not sure. I just know no one else in the family was invited to see them in the hospital. Now that they're home, they're inviting more people to see the baby, but at the hospital, I was told that only they were asked to come right after the birth. I'm just really confused. Me too.
My sister blamed me for not helping her after she took control of my plan.
Well, tell her not to do that.
I, 40 female, have a sister, 38 female, who is 7 months into her second pregnancy. She's married and also has another child who's 3. Recently, some extended family reached out about wanting to get together, and we were supposed to go to a restaurant for dinner. By the way, this comes from user Lost in Paradise 4748. And if you want to submit your own stories, go to the r/OK Storytime subreddit. I'm Dakota.
I'm Carly.
And we're here to give you good advice goofily. But we don't have all the answers. We only know what we would do. So just tell us what you would do. All the things down in the comments. And OP says, my sister asked me about switching it to her house since it would be easier for her. We decided we would order food so she didn't have to cook and briefly threw out some ideas. A few days later, she made a passive comment that she would be cooking because it would be too expensive to cater. And I said I was confused because we were all going to contribute. My sister still insisted on cooking, so I rolled with it, and we sorted out what I would bring. We chatted about other stuff up until the day before dinner, and everything seemed fine. The day of dinner, I called my sister 2 hours before the scheduled time to let them know I was heading over a little early to help. I ended up getting my butt handed to me. My pregnant sister had been spending all day cleaning and preparing while I thought I was going to show up an hour before. She said they only agreed to lend me their house to host, which I swear was never said, and that I should have been there hours ago helping out. I started to say, hey, I'm sorry. If you needed me there earlier, all you had to do was ask, and got screamed at that I should have known. She said everyone was saying how wrong it was for me to throw this dinner on the pregnant woman and that I looked like a real a-hole to the family, and she hung up on me. A subsequent phone call to my mom ended with an angry, she's pregnant and you're upsetting her justification without any opportunity to hear my side. I'm sure there's an element of hormones at play, but I don't think it's fair that I'm automatically wrong and the a-hole because someone is pregnant. I ended up calling my extended family and saying that it was too much for my sister with her pregnancy for all of us to be at her house and that we needed to cancel or move the location. My extended family then called my sister, who told them she was sorry, but dinner was canceled. Dinner did not happen. But something that's always happening is people like you listening to full episodes of stories just like this on their favorite podcast platforms, like iHeartRadio and Spotify and Apple Podcasts. Really, wherever you're listening to podcasts, all you got to do is search OK Storytime. And you've got a whole mess of stories to listen to. And we've got a little bit of story left here. Actually,
Messy stories.
We've got plenty of story, actually, to be honest.
I feel like there's obvious receipts here, and if people aren't gonna read those, then screw them.
Yeah, it's like this. I mean, and it was whose idea, right? Let me.
It was her idea because she was pregnant.
Yeah, the sister asked about switching it to her house.
Right. And then the sister insisted that she cook still. So I'm like, if we have those texts, I'd fully just be like, hey, Mom, read.
Yeah. I don't think it's anything to, like, get super hung up on. I think your sister's probably just really pregnant and stressed out.
Very pregnant.
And you can just leave it at that, honestly.
Yeah.
But let's keep going. I agree with some comments that my sister thought she could handle it and then got overwhelmed. I suspect her husband wasn't being much help, so she got on his case, which may have turned around, and he said he thought she was planning this with me, which set her off on me. When I asked, why haven't you called to ask where I am if you felt I should be there already? Why are you waiting until I call you? She told me it was common sense and courtesy that I should have known she would need help. She said it was her plan to move locations and that she was being kind enough to lend me her house. I pointed out that it was her idea to move the location, and she responded with, irregardless! No, not irregardless. It was your idea.
Right. I was fine with having it where we originally were having it.
And again, if you just wanted me to help you get the house ready, all you had to do was ask.
I would have come over. And maybe OP, you also could have been like, you want me here earlier? But still,
True.
irregardless.
Irregardless! My mom will not fight with my sister because she's afraid of losing access to the grandchildren. I'm upset and embarrassed at the dysfunction and know I'm not going to get an apology. My sister will just avoid me and then want to act like nothing happened as per her usual MO. Am I the a-hole? And there are some comments. I think that your sister's MO is fine here.
Yeah. Did she explode a little bit for no reason? Yeah. Can we probably move on without an apology for this one from your very heavily pregnant sister?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think you can. I think it's something you can just...
I think we can.
Just let that drift off into the sunset.
Maybe after she has her baby, you can be like, remember when you freaked out at me for where you wanted to have the party? And you guys can go, ha 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 ha.
Yeah, now you can make the joke. Is that you can always ask, you need any help? Yeah, all you gotta do is ask. Or just ask me.
Yeah.
You want any help?
I wouldn't be surprised if you did eventually get that apology. But I also think that we can move on with less of one than we're needing.
Right off into the sunset. But we do have some comments. Comment 1, not the a-hole. Call everyone immediately and say, hey, this is overwhelming for sis, so let's move it back to the restaurant. She doesn't get to demand it be done at her place, demand to cook, and then turn into an utter nightmare because she can't do what she demanded to do. A reply says, this is the way. I'm in a similar situation to you, OP. My sister is a mom to 3, while I don't have any children. There have been so many times over the years where she uses her mom card to dictate and demand things. And in her eyes, no matter what I do, I'm always wrong because she's a mom and I'm not. Some days it's absolutely wild, and even our family is blown away by how fast she'll 180 on us using her role as a mom as her go-to excuse. Basically, set the precedent now instead of letting her get away with this behavior. From my experience, these actions will only get worse over time. OP says, it happens a lot with us too, and I can't believe it. I've listened to her vent many times about the in-laws, our family, and whoever, and whatever. Even if I'm busy, I make the time. Then when it's my turn, she is always too busy and plays the, you're not a mom, so you don't get it. She's right. I'm not a mom and can't possibly fully understand her struggle, but that doesn't make me any less intelligent or important. Second comment says, I swear being a parent must flip a switch in some people's brains. My old boss literally saw managing an office as parenting. He told me I can't understand managing people and never will until I have kids. That is going to be a long wait. Even when I was in a meeting with him, the GM, and my union rep over the way he'd been treating me, he doesn't go, if a boss says to their employee. He says, if a parent says to their child. I cut him off at the very point, there are no children here. I am the youngest in the room and I'm nearly 40. Comment 3, not the a-hole. So your sibling moved to the location of the meal because it would be easier for her and is now making a fuss because of all the work involved. Your sister made a series of decisions that created this situation and at no point said anything or reached out for help. This is all on her. You're not a mind reader. You could not know. And at every turn, you offered solutions that would have, in fact, made things easier. Your sister needs to get over herself. And that is the end of that comment and the end of that story.
My sister's bachelorette is turning into a nightmare. I might back out.
The nightmare will follow you. You cannot leave the nightmare.
My sister is having a bachelorette party. I'm the maid of honor. She also has a matron of honor. And this is my first time ever being in a bridal party. So I'm in uncharted territory here. She told me which flight she wanted and said she was going to let the other bridesmaids know. I said I was going to book it, and she said bet. So I booked them. I got insurance, but it only covers illnesses, passing, or severe weather. By the way, this comes from Separate Payment 7058. And if you want to submit your own stories, go to the r/OKStorytime subreddit. I'm Carly.
I'm Dakota.
And we're here to give good advice goofily. We don't have all the answers, though. We only know what we would do. So let us know what you would do in the comments. And OP says, last night she tells me we might be changing it to someplace else in the same state because none of the Airbnbs accept parties. There are 6 of us. I found a place that allowed parties, 1,800, so it was still nice. I sent it to her. She responded with, haha, sadly a no for me. I asked why, and she said she didn't like it. She thought it was dark and looked like it smelled. It had a downstairs bar space that actually looked really cool. It was dimly lit, but it did not look like it smelled at all. I thought it looked like a vibe. I said, that's only the downstairs. The upstairs looks nice, though. And we probably won't be in the basement much anyway, since we'll be going out, but heard. She responded, the couch looks like it's about to break, LOL. The couch looked fine. I suggested, maybe message the host for the other places you were looking at. If they accept 6 guests, maybe it won't be an issue. She said, the guests aren't the problem, it's the rules in the Airbnb. They say no bachelorette or no parties. They may have my aunts and moms come, and they are not guests, so they are considered a party if they come over. I responded with, okay, well, I already got my plane ticket. I got insurance, but that only covers illness, passing, and severe weather, so I don't think I'll be able to get that money back. Did you send that message about booking those flights to everyone else? Has anyone else got their flight yet? She had mentioned telling them. She said, no one has gotten their flights, only you so far. Earlier, when I mentioned buying my flight already, she was just like, oh my god, no, rip. I don't know, it just seems like she has zero consideration or doesn't care that I already bought the flight. After she gave me the go and that I might be out that money. Not to mention, I found Airbnbs from $1,200 to $1,800 for 3 nights. And the places she's been looking at are like $2,500 to $5,000. I'm on a budget. I can't afford to buy another ticket or pay for an Airbnb at that rate. If I'm going to be paying that much for the Airbnb, then I don't want to leave that Airbnb. At that point, that's the activity for the trip. This has been a stressful situation, and I'm contemplating sitting the trip out. Comments. Comment 1. In my experience, most fights start because people are wishy-washy and don't set out clear boundaries. She wants a high-cost party. You don't have the means to handle it. One way to handle this might be to text or tell your sister that you hope she has an outstanding time at her bachelorette party, and you absolutely understand if she'll need to replace you as the maid of honor. But unfortunately, you don't have enough money to buy a second plane ticket, so you'll have to sit this one out. Low-key bickering over the various costs involved are likely going to cause a lot of hard feelings, so just pull the plug. She can have whatever party she sees fit, so long as you're not having to fund it. Commenter 2. So on flights and lodging, everyone's going to be anywhere from $1,000 to $1,500 for this? That's absurd and inconsiderate. Unless the bride is paying for dresses, hair, makeup, flights, hotels for the wedding itself, if not local, you're easily looking at $2,500 to $3,000 for a wedding that isn't yours, when the average American makes less than $62K pre-tax. I'm from a low cost of living part of the country and moved to a high cost of living area. When I did my bachelor party, it was more important to me to have everyone together than to have the dream house or location. We got an Airbnb in a hidden gem town in the low cost of living area, so my friends that don't make as much could drive in and not have to take PTO. While my high cost of living friends loved how cheap the trip was because we didn't do a well-known or expensive place.
Yeah, and the funny thing about that average
Yeah.
of like 62,000 a year is that it's also averaged against the people making like $1 billion.
So it's even less.
So yeah, in reality, it's probably somewhere closer to like 40.
Yeah. Flights and 4 nights lodging was $500 a person, and my local friends paid $225 for 4 nights. A lot of people may disagree with me about this, but the bachelor party isn't just for the bride or groom. It's a chance for the people who got you to this point to celebrate a big moment in your life. It seems extremely inconsiderate to me to not consider the limitations of the people that you want to be with you. Comment 3. When did such expensive trips for bachelorettes become such a thing? In my day, the Bachelorette was a one-night event with dinner and bar hopping. It's like brides have no consideration for their friends and expect them to spend wild amounts of money and participate in activities they might not even like, just because it's the bride's wedding. In my mind, the Bachelorette, wedding shower, and all associated things are about having your friends with you to celebrate with you, not to make them go into debt for you. If you measure your friendship on how much money someone is willing to spend, then you, the bride, are the bad friend for not being willing to scale back to allow your friends not to be overly burdened. But then don't get me started on the actual cost of weddings, as I fail to see the point of spending excessive amounts of money and going into debt for a one-day event. And we have an update. But yeah, great comments.
Yeah, back in my day, used to be one dinner, everyone ate a baked potato and shook my hand. And now, everyone's flying to Tahiti.
Baked potato.
Yeah, it
what
is.
They do during the famine, the potato famine.
Yeah, we're in a lot of bachelorette parties.
That makes sense.
Yeah, it's. I think what did they say, that it's ridiculous and inconsiderate
It is.
to make it like $2,000 a person.
It's insane.
You will not catch me there.
I don't have that money. I'm not going to that.
Even if I did have that money, I'm not spending it on that.
Yeah, that's crazy.
That's crazy.
Crazy. Update. I found a bunch of places that would allow us to stay there after I mentioned them and explained the situation.
Yeah, it's almost like just explaining, to someone can do a whole lot.
Yeah. So I'm going to explain to you guys right now that you can go listen to more full episodes of stories just like this. Go to Spotify, Apple Podcasts, iHeartRadio, wherever you get your podcasts. Search up OK Storytime. There's like over 3 months worth of episodes.
There's 90 days of story.
A lot of days. And more coming. There's a little bit left. I'm just going to keep going.
Yeah, I do agree with the comments with being like, I think you might just pull the plug on this now.
Yeah.
Because if this turns into like a big squabble drawn out, then it could just do more damage than if you just were like, hey, I'm pulling out. I can't do it.
Yeah. And I think you can be straight up and be like, it's money. And who knows? Maybe your sister will be like, listen, I understand. You're like my younger sister. I want you there still. I'll pay for your flight or something.
Yeah. Yeah.
But
just
you're
make
already
it
doing the most.
Not personal. It's like, it's nothing to do with you. I just can't make the numbers work.
Yeah.
For me.
She said, we will stick to the place we're going. I'm down for those. They look cute. But last thing, just wanting a pool if we are spending that much money on a place. It's cold in May, so a pool would be nice. I know some Airbnbs are charging a heat fee. But divided by 6, it's not too bad. I'll check more tonight. We will finalize by Sunday. I said, okay, sounds good. I'm game for a pool, but ideally I'd like to spend no more than $400 to $450 per person on the Airbnb. With the flights and the Airbnb, that should be right around $1,000. She said, to be honest, the places probably will be closer than $600. I said, I mean, if it's under $2,500, it will work out. I just don't think we need to be spending $3,500 plus for 3 nights. At that point, we could each buy our own hotel room for 3 nights. I don't know where other people stand financially, but it might be good to ask them how much they're willing to spend also. So pretty much, I'll be able to use the flight still, but I'll be spending out my butt for everything else. Live, laugh, love?